Tomorrow, Scott Carney will release a video about the tragic death of Nova Xavier. He performed the Wim Hof breathing in a swimming pool and then tried to hold his breath underwater as long as possible. He blacked out and he tragically drowned. And Scott Carney claims that this accident is Wim's fault, again, because Nova supposedly copied Wim Hof's teachings of the exercise in week 8 of the classic Wim Hof method online course. Now the findings in this video will show that and why this is simply untrue, and that the facts point towards a different, maybe even more tragic story. If we read about tragic accidents online or in newspapers, even about people that we don't know, we can feel their pain and we carry this sadness in our daily lives for a while. And this kind of empathy is what makes us human. So when I read the grandmother's testimonial about the tragic death of her grandson Nova Xavier, I really felt sad. I could feel and empathize with her anger, her powerlessness, her deep grief, her devastation. And as a Wim Hof instructor, I was shocked that her grandson did the Wim Hof breathing, followed by extended breath holds in a warm swimming pool midsummer of 2023. And it must be extremely difficult to cope with the loss of a loved one, especially if it's your child or your grandchild, and especially in these tragic circumstances. And it's therefore very understandable that people want answers, and in most cases are also looking for someone to blame. But if you want to investigate the circumstances to find out what really happened, then being emotionally detached is paramount. And once you start accusing someone in the midst of emotional turmoil, staying objective is almost impossible. Yet finding out what really happened is extremely important to at least have a chance to come to acceptance and eventually to heal from tragedies like this. And for Scott Carney, as a professional investigative journalist, being objective should be his top priority. Last year I made a 2-hour video on Scott Carney that clearly showed that objectivity is not his best trait. And if you look at the clickbait picture of the video that is about to release and description below this video, I can only conclude that objectivity, logic and reason are again nowhere to be found. And we'll probably see an understandable, very emotional testimonial of Nova Xavier's mother. Yet it will be intertwined with Scott Carney's narrative that Nova supposedly copied Wim Hof's. After investigating Scott Carney's video on Wim Hof for over a year now, I'm starting to feel compassion for Scott Carney's inability to discern between correlation and causality, between facts and personal opinions, between fabricated explanations based on hearsay evidence and truth based on substantial evidence. Scott Carney has become very predictable. That's why I decided to release this video even before he has released his. So Mother Catherine Xavier has bought Wim Hof's classic course for $100 for her son a half year earlier. It is stated that Nova convinced his mother to practice the breath holds combined with the Wim Hof breathing, just like he had learned in week 8 of Hof's online course. So did Nova Xavier practice the Wim Hof breathing in the water, followed by extended breath holds that tragically led to shallow water blackout? And the answer is most probably yes. But the last part of this claim, just like he'd learned in the week 8 of Wim Hof's online course, is simply not true, as the footage of week 8 of the online course proves. And this is exactly what Scott Carney does. He does it all the time, twisting the truth in order to fit his narrative and to blame Wim Hof. So what do people learn in the classic Wim Hof method online course? Wim Hof's safety message, even before the start of the 10-week online course.
The breathing techniques, they are really going deep. It's like medicine. You should be practicing these techniques cautiously. Cautiously means lying on in bed, or on a couch, in a comfortable seat, or anything like that. You better not do these exercises, these breathing exercises, going deep, going past the conditioning in water, in a car, any vehicle, or any situation where if you lose the control over yourself, would be in a dangerous position. Follow the course step by step, and it is well explained, and no force, no force. And almost would say be aware, take care, then share. Thank you.
The disclaimer in week 8 just repeats what Wim Hof already said at the beginning of the course 8 weeks ago, which is very clear by the time you arrive at this exercise. Extra safety warning at the beginning of week 8. Important. This is a cold challenge, not a breathing challenge.
The guy in the video is guided by Wim to learn to deal with the cold. He is not doing the breath retention and then putting his head underwater.
So never try this yourself. What is the goal of the exercise of week 8? Important. This is a cold challenge, not a breathing challenge.
The guy in the video is guided by Wim to learn to deal with the cold.
We advise strongly to go with the body if you're doing this challenge outside.
And then in ice cold water.
Tragically, Nova missed or ignored the warnings not to do the Wim Hof breathing in the water. He also missed or ignored the fact that the exercise in week 8 is a cold water exercise. This week 8 exercise is of no use in water as warm as the bathtub.
Nova comments, he's like, wow, the water's so warm, right? It feels like almost like bathtub water.
Another goal of the exercise is a limited breath hold of 10, 15 or 20 seconds in cold water, not extended breath holds. Nova Xavier had bought Wim Hof's classic course for $100 for her son half a year earlier, but she felt that Hof's hyperventilation didn't look totally safe. Which is true, you should not do the Wim Hof breathing in the water, hence all the warnings.
Don't do this in a swimming pool. Don't do this in a car. Do it like me. I'm gonna do this lying here, do it in your bed, on the sofa, wherever, because this is very strong. Very, very strong, and it is able to knock you out of your consciousness. Just for a couple of seconds, but imagine what happens if you are in a car or in a swimming pool doing this. Don't do this.
And the rapid breathwork allowed them to spend more time underwater than they would have expected otherwise. Just like he had learned in the week 8 of Hof's online course. Apparently, Nova's goal was to spend more time underwater than normal or expected. Yet this is not what Nova learned in the week 8 of the Wim Hof Method Classic online course.
But still, if you go into the water, try 10 seconds going under, 15, 20, and keep to your feel. Keep connected to your feel and don't overdo it. Because, you know, the battle with in nature, you always will lose.
Just go relax into it before it all happens. Program yourself. Then go undress yourself at ease. Do the breathing.
The same breathing he was just doing in the BBC, right? In, out, hyper. This is slow. This is slower than the average Wim Hof breathing.
Go into the water. Keep on with the breathing. Keep on being focused. There you sit.
Now here is Scott Carney's typical and deliberate misrepresentation of the week 8 cold water exercise.
And then, on week 8 of the course, Wim leads a lone student into the water, hyperventilating and dunking his head.
Now this is what Wim taught the lone student. A couple of breaths to deal with the first cold shock, to stay focused, followed by a limited breath hold of 17 seconds. Let's see how the lone student describes his own experience of this week 8 exercise.
First you get a little shock, but after a while, kept breathing, it went a little bit better. And then went into the water, felt my heartbeat going really slow. And then like 20 seconds or something, 10, 20 seconds, and then I came up. Yeah, and now it feels really nice. And that's enough. It was controlled and totally. This is the exercise. Week number 8.
In an ABC News article of 2015, Good Morning America talked with Tom Griffiths, president and founder of Aquatic Safety Research, about the little-known hazard shallow water blackout, and we asked how long was too long to hold your breath underwater. We usually say 30 seconds is about the limit. Certainly, we don't want people holding their breaths for more than 1 minute. So the cold water exercise of week 8 of the Wim Hof Classic online course. It's a cold challenge to learn to deal with the cold. It's not a breathing challenge. Wim says to be focused and to take conscious breaths to stay at ease during the first cold shock and to focus for the limited breath hold head underwater for 10 to 20 seconds. And Wim also clearly says, don't overdo it because nature always wins. It's about staying relaxed and in control, not about records. And as tragic as it is, the following findings show that Nova Xavier did not practice what he had learned in the week 8 of the classic Wim Hof Method online course. Findings that show that Nova Xavier ignored or missed Wim Hof's warnings at the beginning of the 10-week online course to never practice the Wim Hof breathing in the water. He ignored or missed the clear written warnings that it is a cold challenge, yet he practiced in warm water in midsummer. Nova did not follow Wim's instructions when he tried to hold his breath underwater as long as possible. Instructions of a limited breath hold of 10 to 20 seconds for relaxation and control, as shown in the video of week 8 of the 10-week online course. Now if, with these objective findings, Scott Carney still accuses Wim Hof of this tragic accident, then in my humble opinion, Scott Carney is emotionally too attached and too blind to see the truth, inadequate in discerning facts from his own personal narrative, or he has bad intentions, clear as day. The circumstances of this tragic accident show a lot of similarities with the near-fatal accident of Joshua Waitzkin. He also experienced shallow water blackout after doing the Wim Hof breathing in a swimming pool. Luckily he was saved in time and he survived. Both Nova Xavier and Joshua Waitzkin are on Scott Carney's Wim Hof drowning list, where he accuses Wim Hof to be responsible of these accidents. Now let's take a look at Scott Carney's dishonest reporting on Joshua Waitzkin's accident. Dishonest in terms of cutting out crucial information. And let's compare it to Joshua Waitzkin's own honest testimonial.
2 years ago, Josh Watskin, the kid from the movie Searching for Bobby Fischer, who is an avid Wim Hof Method practitioner, told the author and podcaster Tim Ferriss that he enthusiastically tried to prolong his breath holds underwater by doing what he says was Wim Hof-inspired breath holds in a New York City pool. He passed out for 4 minutes, only to be rescued by a fellow swimmer.
But then I made a big technical error. I ignored all the signs on Wim's site and that you spoke about, do not do this in water, which is, they were all over the place, but I thought, free diving is a way of life for me, no problem. A few months ago, I started doing my Wim breathing and did a series of underwater swims. I did about 8 25-meter swims, and I think I was on my 4th 50. And I went from this ecstatic state to unconsciousness. And I was actually on the bottom of the pool after blacking out from shallow water blackout for 3 minutes before someone pulled me out.
Why does Scott Carney try to make it seem that Wim Hof is responsible for Joshua Waitzkin's accident? And did he place him on his Wim Hof drowning list? Joshua Waitzkin clearly admits that he ignored Wim's warnings that are all over the place, that he made a technical error and who owns his mistake, and at no point blames Wim Hof for it. Inadequate or bad intentions? You tell me. There are approximately 140,000 deaths annually caused by drowning, and it is estimated by a number of sources that shallow water blackout is responsible for up to 20% of all these drownings. These are 28,000 cases each year. The numbers of the WHO are even higher. And this is not new. In 2011, 13 years ago, long before the Wim Hof method even existed, Rhonda Milner found her son on the bottom of the pool in her family's backyard, where he was training to hold his breath for longer periods. He also tragically had fallen victim to shallow water blackout. Because of this tragic event, Rhonda Milner founded the website underwaterhypoxicblackout.com to prevent shallow water blackout. Just like the tragic accident of Nova Xavier, shallow water blackouts have been caught on underwater surveillance camera. In one video, a 13-year-old boy struggles to stay conscious, slowly sinks to the bottom of the pool, and help come just in time. In another video, an experienced 18-year-old swimmer can be seen sinking seconds before being rescued. Already in 2015, Reuters has reported that warning signs are going up at pools across the country to ban extended breath holding in public pools.
We drive to my mother's gated community pool.
Now this article on shallow water blackout on ABC News was written in 2015, and the number of accidents are well known and they are real. So we're 2024 now, and what has changed in the meantime? How many bans and warnings can actually be found in public pools or in gated community pools, like with this particular tragic accident? If you really want to prevent a, for most people, unknown shallow water blackout, it all starts with consciously raising awareness. Firstly, proper education about shallow water blackout in schools, for instance during the swimming lessons. Or secondly, warnings and bans of hyperventilation and extended breath holds exercises in public pools. If those two measures would be taken proactively, now that would really prevent a lot of tragic accidents like these. Now in the near future I will make a video on the Metzger case against Wim Hof that was dismissed on the 27th of June 2024 with the raw facts, the truth and the premeditated lies about Wim Hof. I'm not saying this lightly because most people don't know, but just like Scott Carney worked now with Nova Xavier's mother, he also collaborated with Raphael Metzger behind the scenes, and he helped him to gather the so-called key evidence by means of his narrative, his misrepresented videos about Wim Hof, and with what Scott Carney calls himself the Wim Hof drowning list. Scott Carney's so-called evidence was under judicial investigation of the Los Angeles Police Department for over a year. Now the hearing and the ruling of the case against Wim Hof was recorded by a court reporter, and the complete transcription will soon be available. Now based on Scott Carney's theory, they will copy Wim and die, he could also accuse Tom Cruise and Kate Winslet for their respective 6.5 minutes and over 7 minutes extended breath holds underwater in the movies Mission Impossible and Avatar 2: The Way of Water. Their fans could copy their idol and die. Now this of course is absolute nonsense, just like the accusations towards Wim Hof. Wim Hof's teachings are safe and clear, as well as his warnings that are all over the place. Now in the court case, the judge has seen and referred specifically to Scott Carney's narrative, "People will copy Wim and die," his videos on Wim Hof and his Wim Hof drownings list as inadmissible. His narrative was speculation based on hearsay evidence, and his videos on Wim Hof and his Wim Hof drowning list is hearsay evidence, speculation, and therefore unsubstantiated. Scott Carney's fabricated narrative, his videos, and his Wim Hof drownings list was therefore completely overruled.
And I'm not just making things up.
If Scott Carney really wants to save lives, he should make a video about the true physiology of shallow water blackout, which includes extended breath holds. Doesn't he understand this? Or doesn't he want to understand this? Anyway, a video that talks about the main risks of shallow water blackout and tips of how to prevent it may work wonders. But Scott Carney does not make this video. It is clearly not his priority. So in my personal opinion, Scott Carney has fallen from being a New York Times best-selling author, which he owes to Wim Hof, from being a great investigative journalist to becoming a YouTube sensationalist. And I honestly believe that he's not helping the people in the video that he's about to reveal. Giving them someone to blame, unjustified, prevents them from seeing what really happened, and it keeps them stuck in their pain and their anger. And I don't believe that that's what they need. I believe it blocks them from accepting what really happened, which is the first step to healing. People who claim that they are practicing the Wim Hof method while doing several rounds of Wim Hof breathing in warm water, followed by holding their breath underwater as long as possible, are not practicing the Wim Hof method. This is exactly what the Wim Hof method does not stand for. Hence the warnings to not do the Wim Hof breathing in the water. In other words, Fire and Wim Hof exclude these dangerous practices from the Wim Hof method. Causing an accident while driving under the influence and or texting is not the fault of the car salesman or the car factory. Doing the Wim Hof breathing in warm water, trying to hold your breath as long as possible, is not the Wim Hof method and is not the fault of Wim Hof. Now to end this video, I'd like to express my sincerest condolences to Catherine Xavier, her family, and her loved ones with this tragic and unbearable loss. I wish her all the strength and wisdom on her healing journey. Now beautiful people, the Wim Hof method is a very powerful method with numerous benefits, but please practice it wisely. Check the contraindications on the official Wim Hof method website, and when in doubt, consult a doctor first. Only do the Wim Hof breathing, the 3 rounds with breathing retentions in a safe place, and always take your body with you when you step in cold water. I wish you all the best. Ciao, ciao.
Don't do this in a swimming pool. Don't do this in a car. Do it like me. I'm gonna do this lying here, do it in your bed, on the sofa, wherever, because this is very strong. Very, very strong, and it is able to knock you out of your consciousness. Just for a couple of seconds, but imagine what happens if you are in a car or in a swimming pool doing this. Don't do this.